Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Monday, October the 25th. By popular demand, I had a lot of people reach out to me in the comments. I had some people DM me on Twitter. They wanted the Yahoo content back. I've been covering Yahoo for a while now. I decided not to cover it just for the start of the season. Just wanted to focus on DK. But a lot of people have been requesting for me to bring back Yahoo, so we will be talking through Yahoo as well, along with Draftkings. We're going to do like we normally do, go game by game, break down each game on the slate, kind of give you guys my early thoughts, what does stand out to me looking at this slate on Sunday night. And as we do go through each game, something that I did last year that I'll be bringing back as well, we'll build out an early core. Now, these are not, just core plays that you should be locking in, set in stone. No, I mean, NBA is a sport where news changes, the whole slate, guys will get ruled out randomly. Starting lineups will be different than what you expect them to be some nights. The NBA is a sport where you have to be on top of news. The entire slate can change, just with a click. I mean, it's a sport that's really unlike any other when it comes to late news. So the early core that I give in this video is, again, not set in stone. If you guys do want my full updated core plays, I update those all the way up until lock, even after lock, depending on what news comes out. I post those on Patreon, so if you want to check those out, they're linked down below in the description. You can get access to my core plays. You can get in my Discord chat where I'm able to answer, any questions you have throughout the day. Up until lock, I'm in there answering questions for you guys. And also my rankings where I basically list off my favorite plays of the day in order from the guys I have the most interest in. Just, what I feel the best optimal plays are, the best point per dollar plays on the slate. I will rank them in order for you guys. So you can check that all out. Link down below in the description. It's over on Patreon. But real quickly, before we get started with the breakdown, guys, I do want to give a quick shout out to Prize Picks. For those of you who have not checked out Prize Picks yet, they are linked down below in the description, or you can just use promo code NOAH. When you do sign up for Prize Picks, you'll get your first deposit matched up to $100. Now, Prize Picks is a little bit different than DraftKings and Yahoo and every other DFS site. They're more player prop based, so it's very simple. You just pick the over or the under on the projections that they have listed. Now, I'm recording this video Sunday night, so they don't really have many projections available right now. I'm sure they will post a lot more Monday morning, but these are some of the options they have available. 3-pointers made, assists, rebound points. They have projections for a decent amount of players right now. Again, they will add more on Monday. But if you guys want to check them out, if you want to make some picks for yourself, you can check out Prize Picks, link down below in the description, or again, just use that promo code NOAH when you sign up. You will get your first deposit matched up to $100. Prize Picks has NBA. They also have NFL. They have a ton of other sports. If you still are into baseball, they have baseball stuff as well. Check them out. Use promo code NOAH when you sign up for Prize Picks. But yeah, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at Monday's 9-game slate. We're going to go game by game. Start off with the Boston and Charlotte game. So this is one we're going to have to pay attention to when it comes to injury news for both sides. So currently, Jaylen Brown is questionable for Boston, and then on the other side, Terry Rozier is questionable for Charlotte. Both these teams are on a back-to-back. Both of these teams played on Sunday. For me, when it comes to this game, we're going to have to wait on the injury news. If Jaylen Brown plays, if Terry Rozier plays, I don't think I'm going to be going to a ton in this game. With Boston fully healthy on this slate, I don't know if there's much that stands out to me as like top options. I think Jason Tatum is a guy you can always play. He's someone that's always playable for me, but if Jaylen Brown does get ruled out, then I would have a lot of interest in Tatum. Tatum was a core play for me on Sunday night slate after Brown got ruled out. He had a pretty good game, 50 DK points, played 37 minutes. Without Jaylen Brown, you expect the usage to, increase for Tatum. You expect him to dominate the usage in this offense. So if Brown is out, I like Tatum a lot. If Brown plays, I think Tatum is still fine. Brown himself would be viable if he plays, but overall on this slate, I don't think he would be like a core option for me. Robert Williams, he's been getting good minutes this year. He did not have a good game Sunday night, but he did play 28 minutes again. He played 28 minutes the game before that. Like, Robert Williams is a super productive player when he's on the floor. If he's going to get close to 30 minutes a night, we're going to see a lot of big 35, 40, 45-point games from Robert Williams. He's going to be tough to, predict. He's going to be a guy that's, he's going to fluctuate, I would say. Some nights he'll have big games. Some nights he'll let you down. He's a riskier option. And while he's priced where he is at 6,100, he's not going to stand out as a great, point per dollar play. But I still think Robert Williams has good tournament upside, that he is someone you could throw in your tournament player pool. And then when it comes to the other Celtics, for me, it's just waiting on the Jaylen Brown news. If Jaylen Brown is out, I think that's a boost for Marcus Smart. I think that's a boost for Dennis Schroeder as well. Dennis Schroeder did start in place of Brown Sunday. I assume Schroeder would start again. Schroeder is only 5,600. He played 33 minutes in the starting lineup Sunday. I think we would expect similar minutes and similar production for him come Monday. He would be a fine option at 5,600. assuming Brown doesn't play. But that's probably it for the Celtics. Grant Williams had a good game Sunday. He played 31 minutes, but this is just not a guy that I really ever play. He's someone that doesn't really have much upside. He's another guy that, some nights he may randomly put up 30 DK points, but a lot of times Grant Williams is probably putting up like less than 20 DraftKings points. He's just a really low usage player. Not a guy that really has much upside. He shot the ball super, super well. 75% from the field, 71% from three. I mean, that's just, you can't expect that to happen again. So I'll be off Grant Williams. I think for me, when it comes to this Boston team, we got to wait on the Jaylen Brown news. If he's out, I like Tatum. I like Smart. I like Schroeder. If he plays, I think Tatum's still fine. I think Robert Williams is fine too. But that's really it from the Celtics. Now on the Charlotte team, for me, when it comes to Charlotte on this slate, the only guy I have interest in is LaMelo Ball. I think if Terry Rozier plays, LaMelo Ball is fine. I think if Terry Rozier is out, LaMelo Ball probably becomes a top option for me. 7,800 is definitely too cheap for LaMelo if we expect Rozier to be out again. Rozier's been out, I'm pretty sure the last 2 games, and we saw, or I know he was out against the Pacers. I think, did Rozier play that game? I don't think Rozier played that game. Rozier didn't play that game, so Rozier was out that game against the Pacers, and LaMelo did have a really good game. Played 29 minutes, had 59 DK points. Last game against Brooklyn on Sunday afternoon, Terry Rozier was out again then, but we don't want to look too much into that because LaMelo I don't think he played at all in the fourth quarter. I didn't watch that game. I didn't keep up with that game very much, but I'm pretty sure it was a blowout. The Hornets bench went on like a really big run, and LaMelo didn't play at all in the fourth quarter, which was just really random. So you don't want to look too much into that. Without Terry Rozier, if he were to be out again, that's a big boost for LaMelo. LaMelo's going to, be one of these guys that can do everything, that can contribute in all categories. I think at 7,800, he would be my, for sure, top play from Charlotte. The rest of these guys, though, I don't have much interest in. Like Miles Bridges had a big game Sunday afternoon, but I'm not going to chase that. I think at 7,100, Miles Bridges is appropriately priced for today's slate. We just got to wait on the news in this game. That's going to be the big thing we have to wait on for now. But next game, we'll talk about Milwaukee and Indiana. So on Milwaukee here, they remain injury depleted. Brook Lopez going to be out again. Drew Holiday is doubtful, so he's not expected to play. And I believe Bobby Portis is questionable. So, Bobby Portis does have a chance to play today. This will be something to monitor. This is pretty important because with Brook Lopez out, there is a chance that Bobby Portis maybe would start in place of Brook Lopez. They have been playing Giannis at center lately without Lopez, but maybe they would move Bobby Portis into the starting lineup. If that were to be the case, Bobby Portis would be a really good option at 4,300. But again, that's just news we don't have right now. But without Drew Holiday, with Brook Lopez out as well, I mean, Giannis and Middleton are the two guys you expect to really dominate the usage. Giannis so far this season hasn't been great. He's had 2 back-to-back kind of bad games, but, the Miami game was a massive blowout. I think he was also in foul trouble then. And I think last game against San Antonio, Giannis was in foul trouble as well. Only played 30 minutes, but we know what Giannis can do when he's on the floor. We know he's a super productive player. We know he's going to play big minutes most nights. He's one of the best stud options on this slate, I think. And then Chris Middleton is underpriced on DraftKings, in my opinion. 7,200. Again, Middleton hasn't gotten off to a great start so far this season through 3 games. Only 37, 21, and 37 DK points. But without Drew Holiday, you expect, Middleton, Giannis to be the 2 guys that really dominate the usage. They've been, that's how it's been just these last few years, ever since Drew's been on the team, or last year, I would say. Middleton at 7,200 might be my favorite play for Milwaukee on DraftKings when you factor in the pricing, but I do like Giannis a lot as well. For now, though, we will plug in Middleton into our early core just because I do like that price a lot. I think he is underpriced for what we can expect in terms of usage, in terms of minutes, and just overall his projection for his salary. I think he's going to project really well on the projection sites. But then the other bucks that we could look to, Pat Connaughton might start here. If they do decide to play Giannis at center again, that probably means that Connaughton moves into the starting lineup. He did start last game that Drew and Lopez were both out. They started Connaughton. If Connaughton starts again, he probably plays like 30 to 32 minutes at 4,700. He'd be an okay value. I don't think he's a great play at that price tag, but he would be playable. Grayson Allen at 4,600, his price tag gotten to a point where I don't have too much interest in him. He's going to play around 30 minutes. Without Drew, that definitely gives a bump up to Grayson Allen, but 4,600 is an appropriate price tag for him. I think the 2 guys that are probably the underpriced the most are Jordan Nwora and George Hill. 4,200 for Jordan Nwora. So far this season, he's been a consistent part of the Bucks rotation. 26, 26, 21 minutes their last 3 games. Without Drew, I think there's going to be more minutes available for Nwora. I think he plays probably 22 to 24 minutes. He's a productive player when he's on the floor. He's a guy that's not afraid to shoot. He can produce when he's out there. So he's someone I do have a good amount of interest in for value. And then George Hill, I assume, will start in place of Drew Holiday. We saw George Hill start the game against Miami when Drew Holiday was out. Only played 21 minutes, but again, that was a massive blowout, so we don't want to look too much into that. If we expect George Hill to start again, if we expect the game to stay close, which it should, we probably get around 30 minutes from George Hill is my best guess. And at 3,500 on DraftKings, he looks like a really good just kind of point per dollar value play. We don't have too much value under 4K right now, but I think George Hill, assuming he starts for Drew Holiday, is a pretty good value at only 3,500. So those are two guys I kind of like early on from Milwaukee that you can go to on DraftKings. But we'll move on to the Indiana side and talking about the Pacers here. So on this Pacers team, really the only guys I have interest in are Brogdon and Sabonis. Sabonis on this slate I don't think is a top stud for me because you have Giannis, you have Jokic, you have KD, you have Harden. There's a lot of pay-up options. Sabonis is someone I always have interest in. He's, in my opinion, one of the better fantasy players overall, just like what we can expect from Sabonis on a nightly basis. He gives you a super high floor. Most nights Sabonis is going to play like close to 40 minutes. Most nights he's going to score between 45 to 50 DraftKings points. But on this slate, I don't think he's going to be like a core stud for me, but I still would have him in my player pool. Brogdon, he's been great so far this year. A little revenge game for him against his former team. 40, 44, and 41 minutes for Brogdon. Both him and Sabonis are playing massive minutes to start the season, and Brogdon's been super productive. 54, 55, 45 DK points. We saw this last year. Like, he got off to a super hot start last year, was putting up like 50 DK points almost every single night for like a week straight. At 7,900, I think Brogdon is pretty good mid-range option at point guard if you do want to go to him. He's going to get the minutes. Him and Sabonis are both going to play big minutes. You expect both those guys to handle a lot of the usage in this Pacers offense. So they're my two favorite plays from Indiana. The rest of this team I don't have too much interest in. Chris Duarte was a really good value Saturday. He was very chalky. He played a ton of minutes. He was really good for his salary, but now his price has come up to 5,400. I don't have as much interest in Duarte as I did last slate on Saturday. If he was 3,900 again, I think he'd be a top value play, but since his price has come up so much, he's just more of a, tournament option. I don't think he's going to be like a core play or a guy that I consider for like cash games or anything. So yeah, that kind of does it for this game. Moving on to the next one, Detroit and Atlanta. This is one I don't really have much interest in. On the Detroit side, like Detroit's probably my least, in my opinion, they're going to be like one of the least appealing teams to just target this year, especially while Cade Cunningham is out. Like, I don't think I'm really going to play anyone from this Pistons team. I think when Cade Cunningham gets healthy and starts playing, I probably will play him a decent amount in DFS. Like, the Pistons are just not a team I really want to be rostering guys from. I mean, they play a deep rotation. They play a ton of guys. They don't really give too many guys heavy minutes outside of, Sadiq Bey and Jeremy Grant, and they're both appropriately priced, in my opinion. So, really, the Pistons are a team I'm just not that interested in on this slate. There's other teams I prefer. There's other teams with mispriced players. So, yeah, I think we can just kind of move on to the Atlanta side. In Atlanta, again, on this slate, I don't think I have too much interest in Atlanta either. This is overall a game I don't really want to be targeting that much. Atlanta with Trae Young here at the top at 9,300. Trae Young, always playable. Good matchup against Detroit. Detroit's a terrible team. They're a terrible defensive team. But on this slate, you have Harden, you have Jokic, you have Giannis, you have KD, you have Sabonis. I just don't think I'm going to be able to play Trae Young when you have all those other guys who I prefer. Trae Young, if you're playing like 150 lineups, yeah, get some exposure to Trae Young. But if I'm only playing one lineup or three lineups or even five lineups, I don't think Trae Young makes my player pool for today. If I was going to play anyone from Atlanta, it probably would be him. But this team, I just don't really want to be targeting. Everyone on the Hawks, in my opinion, feels appropriately priced. There's no misprices here. So I think we can go ahead and move on to the next game. Just kind of went through that one quickly, but there's not too much I like there. So next game, this is one I have a lot of interest in. Now, we will have to wait for news on Bradley Beal, but Washington, Brooklyn, two pretty fast-paced teams, two teams that played at a pretty fast pace last year. I haven't looked at totals, but I assume this game has one of the highest totals on the slate. We'll start off on the Washington side, though. Again, Bradley Beal, the big news of the slate, one of the bigger injury kind of question marks we're going to have to watch. Bradley Beal has not played, I believe, the last two games, or maybe it was just one game he was out. I think it was one game, yeah. So he missed the last game. We saw Dinwiddie, Kuzma both play really well. Bradley Beal, I expect to play here. Just reading this little blurb right here, it says he was a limited participant during Sunday's practice, but he's on track to play. So I'm assuming that Beal plays. If he does, 9,200. Good matchup against Brooklyn. I think Bradley Beal is a good tournament option. I think he will be pretty low owned on the slate, especially if we don't get news on him till closer to lock. If he's questionable all day, there's a good chance Bradley Beal comes in like less than 5% owned. anytime you can get Bradley Beal that low owned, I think he's a good tournament play. Is he going to be like a cash game play for me or a core play? Probably not. But in tournaments, I do have interest in Bradley Beal. If Bradley Beal plays, then I'm off Spencer Dinwiddie. I'm off Kyle Kuzma. They both benefited last game without Bradley Beal, but now that their prices have gotten up to where they are, they're not in play for me now that Beal is expected back. If Beal were to sit, though, I think Dinwiddie and Kuzma would be viable once again. I mean, Dinwiddie, without Beal last game, played 35 minutes, had 57 DraftKings points. Kuzma played big minutes as well, 39 minutes for Kyle Kuzma, 47 DK points. We just got to wait on Beal news. If Beal sits, you can definitely go to those guys. And then when it comes to the centers, this is the last thing we'll talk about. Montrezl Harrell, Daniel Gafford, choosing between these two on a nightly basis is going to be really frustrating. Some nights you're going to get them right, some nights you're not. So far this year through 2 games, Montrezl Harrell as the backup center has played 26 and 34 minutes, and then Daniel Gafford, on the other hand, has played 22 and 18 minutes. So even though Daniel Gafford is the starter, Montrezl Harrell has been playing more minutes so far this season. Does that continue? I have no idea. If I have to choose one of the Brooklyn or the Washington centers, I would prefer Montrezl Harrell. He's been really productive this year when he's been on the floor. He's kind of looked like his old self from a couple years back when he was, one of the best 6 men in the league, when he was a super productive fantasy point per minute player. He wasn't great when he was with the Lakers. His production wasn't that good, but so far with the Wizards, he's been really productive when he's gotten minutes. It's a good matchup against Brooklyn. Brooklyn's always been a team that struggled to defend bigs. I don't think I'd be going to Montrezl Harrell in cash or anything, but in tournaments, I think he will be somewhat low owned. I think at 5,400, Montrezl Harrell does make some sense from this Wizards team. I think he will be in my player pool for sure, but that's really it from Washington. Now, moving on to the Brooklyn side, Brooklyn's really easy for me. It's Kevin Durant, it's James Harden, and that's it. Like, I'm not playing anyone else on Brooklyn. These secondary pieces like Blake Griffin, Joe Harris, Patty Mills, like these guys are just going to be too tough to predict on a nightly basis. Their price tags, none of them really stand out like at their price points. There's no really glaring value from Brooklyn. So I think we can just focus on the big guys here. While Kyrie Irving remains out, Kevin Durant, James Harden are going to dominate the usage on this Nets team. So far this year, it's a very small sample size, but in 69 minutes, James Harden's got a 29% usage rate, averaging 1.28 fantasy points per minute. Kevin Durant, 67 minutes played, has a 36% usage rate, averaging 1.86 fantasy points per minute. So Durant's been kind of the alpha so far this year between him and Harden. I think Durant's one of my favorite pay-up options on the slate. I love the matchup against Washington. Love the pace of this game. I think this will be a very high-scoring game. 10,200, in my opinion, might still be a little bit too cheap for Durant, especially with how well he's played this year. 58, 73, 50 DK points so far through 3 games. Gonna play big minutes. Great matchup, fast-paced game. I mean, there's nothing negative I could say about Kevin Durant here. So Kevin Durant, I like a lot, and that goes for both sites. He's pretty affordable on Yahoo too, $52. I wouldn't say affordable, but when you look at the top stud options on this slate, you got Giannis at 55, and then you got Jokic at 52 as well, Durant at 52. I think I'm taking Durant right now, just kind of first look. Now, again, things can change. I'll give my full updated core plays and everything on Patreon, but for now, I do like Durant as a top spin up on the slate. And I think Harden's a really good spin up as well. Harden hasn't been as good as Durant so far this year, but he's still playing big minutes, still getting a lot of usage. Harden, we know, can stuff the stat sheet. We know he can do everything. He gives you triple-double upside. Gonna score, gonna get rebounds, gonna get assists. At 9,500, it wouldn't be surprising if Harden had a big game tonight either. I prefer Durant, but I think James Harden is for sure in play as well. And that's it for me from Brooklyn. So moving on to the next game, Orlando and Miami. On Orlando here, this is another team I don't think I'm going to be rostering much of this year. Like, the Magic are just gross. I mean, they're not a good basketball team. They're another team that runs somewhat of a deep rotation. But there are a few guys I do have some interest in from Orlando today. Now, Cole Anthony's coming off a big game. He had a massive game. I think it was Sunday. Sunday he played 35 minutes, put up 66 DraftKings points for Cole Anthony. Obviously, that was a little bit of an outlier. I don't think we can expect 29 and 16 and 8 from Cole Anthony once again. He's going to get a lot of usage. He's going to get a lot of opportunity with this Magic team, but I'm not going to him at 6,100. I think Mo Bamba is the guy I like most from Orlando. Mo Bamba's been starting lately, or he's been starting the entire season so far. I didn't know if they were going to start him alongside Wendell Carter, but they have been, and it looks like they're going to just keep doing that. So if we're going to see Mo Bamba start and play 27 to 34 minutes like he has the last 3 games, 27, 34, 34 minutes, if we're getting 34 minutes from Mo Bamba, I mean, at 6,100, Mo Bamba is a fantasy point per minute player. He's a super productive player when he's on the floor. He's a pretty easy candidate for a double-double. He can block a lot of shots as well. I like Mo Bamba quite a bit at this price point. Now, the matchup against Miami is not great, but he's definitely in play for me at 6,100. And on Yahoo, I like Mo Bamba a lot over there. He's only $19. I think if you're going to pay down a little bit at the center position, Mo Bamba does look like a really good option on Yahoo at only $19. And then the rest of the Magic are just, yeah, I just don't think I'm going to be going to anyone else. I do want to mention Franz Wagner, just because he's 4,400, super cheap, and he has been starting and playing big minutes, 32, 34, and 39 minutes for Wagner, 26, 21, 25 DK points. I don't think he gives you much upside, but he's only 4,400, and he's playing big minutes, so I did want to mention him. But Mo Bamba is my favorite play from Orlando today for sure. Now on the Miami side here, looking at the Heat are another team we're going to have to pay attention to when it comes to injury news. Kyle Lowry was out on Saturday. He is questionable for today's game, so this is pretty important news that we're going to have to monitor. If Lowry plays, I'm probably going to be avoiding Miami. There's nothing that stands out when you look at the pricing, in my opinion, from the Heat if Lowry is in. But if Lowry does get ruled out again, then guys like Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero would become viable plays. Jimmy didn't play that well last game without Lowry, but he played big minutes. He didn't shoot the ball that well, 31% from the field, 33% from three. So, if he has a better shooting game, he probably puts up way more than 40 DK points. But if Lowry's out, you expect the usage to increase for Jimmy Butler. You expect it to increase for Bam Adebayo as well. And Bam also played big minutes last game, had 44 DK points. Both him and Jimmy I would like quite a bit if Lowry's out. And then Tyler Hero would be the other guy I would go to. Tyler Hero, even though he came off the bench, he played 41 minutes last game with Lowry out, had a big game, 44 DK points. Tyler Hero has been great so far this year. He's been, he's looked like just, one of the most improved players in the league. He really struggled kind of last season, especially late in the season and in the playoffs, but he's looked great so far to start this year. He's been scoring. He's been taking a ton of shots. He's been getting a lot of usage. I think Tyler Hero, if Kyle Lowry is out, is for sure in play at 6,400, but in my opinion, these guys will all be just kind of secondary options if Lowry is in. If Lowry's out, then we can consider them maybe as stronger plays. But that's probably it for Miami. The only other guy I'll mention is Gabe Vincent. He did start in place of Lowry Saturday. He played 25 minutes. He was not very productive, but if he starts again, he's only 3,100. It's hard to find guys this cheap that are going to play like 25, 30 minutes. So I would only consider Gabe Vincent, though, if Lowry's out. But next game, we'll talk about Chicago and Toronto. So looking at the Bulls here, this Bulls team, I said it earlier in the season, I'll say it once again, they're going to be a tough team to gauge when it comes to fantasy, when it comes to DFS. It's just going to be hard to predict which one of these guys goes off on a nightly basis. So far this season, Vooch has had one big game. That was last game against Detroit. The other two games were just kind of mediocre. He's 9K. It's not the best spot against the Raptors, I would say. I don't have much interest in Vooch on this slate. Zach LaVine so far this season, he's had two decent games. Last game against Detroit, he was really bad, though. So Vooch had a big game last game, but LaVine really struggled. Could LaVine have the big game today? He could, but I don't think there's any standout plays from Chicago. DeMar DeRozan, I haven't played at all this season. He's been solid, but at 7,300, he feels priced about right. Same could be said for Lonzo Ball, 7,100. Lonzo had a big game in a revenge matchup against the Pelicans, but the last two against Detroit have just been mediocre. In my opinion, when it comes to this Bulls team, while everyone is appropriately priced like they are, there's probably not going to be no standout plays from Chicago for me. I think you can just mix these guys in if you're playing a lot of tournament lineups, but there's no core plays from the Bulls for me. Alex Caruso is a GPP cheap play. I think's fine. He's going to get probably 25 to 30 minutes off the bench. He's been somewhat productive so far this year with the Bulls. He's fine at 4,200. But yeah, that's it for this Bulls team. There's not too much I really like here. Now on the other side with the Raptors are a team I don't have too much interest in outside of maybe one or two guys. Fred VanVleet is 7,600. I've been on Fred VanVleet these last few slates, and it hasn't really gone well. He's been playing big minutes, just hasn't been that productive. 26, 36, 35 DK points through 3 games. The minutes have been there, just the production has not. But you look at the field goal percentage and his 3-point percentage, he just hasn't been able to make shots. I mean, against Washington, he shot the ball 25% from the field, 11% from 3. Against Boston, only 30% from the field, 40% from 3. Like, eventually, Fred VanVleet's going to have a game where he's knocking down shots and he shoots 50, 60% from the field. He gets, 6, 7 assists, 6, 7 rebounds. Whenever we get those games from Fred VanVleet, which, it's going to be tough to predict when those happen, but he still has 45, 50-point upside. I do like the matchup against Chicago. I think Chicago will be a pretty fast-paced team this year. So far in pace, when I'm looking at pace, it's a small sample size. They're about middle of the pack, but I think as the season progresses, you will see Chicago towards the top of the list when it comes to pace. With Lonzo, with Levine, this is going to be a team that runs up the court quickly. So, I think it's a good matchup for these Raptors guys. I don't think anyone stands out at their price point outside of Precious Achiuwa. Precious Achiuwa is the one Raptor guy I do have a lot of interest in, only 4,500. He entered the season as the starting center for the Raptors, and he started every game since then. First game against Washington, he got into foul trouble, but the last 2 games, he hasn't been in foul trouble, and he's played pretty good minutes, 25 and 33 minutes. Been productive as well with 39 and 30 DK points. Still pretty cheap on DraftKings at only 4,500. So I do like Precious Achiuwa. Excuse me. I do like Precious Achiuwa a good amount for value. I think he's a pretty good value on both sides, DK and Yahoo. Again, super cheap on DK, only 4,500, and on Yahoo, he is super cheap over there as well. Plus, he is power forward on Yahoo and not center, so you don't have to worry about using one of your center spots on Achiuwa. You can play him at power forward. So I do like Precious Achiuwa a good amount on both sides. I think he's one of the better just kind of first look values for me. Below 5K on DK, only $12 on Yahoo. But that's probably it for the Raptors. Scotty Barnes I've been on this season, but now his price is up to 5,900, so I'm probably off of him. OG I think is fine at 6,300. But yeah, we can move on to the next game. Talk about the Pelicans and the Timberwolves. So on the Pelicans here, Brandon Ingram at 8,300 against Minnesota. We're seeing these teams play once again. They played it on Saturday. They're going to play again this time. Or it's in Minnesota again, so they're basically playing twice in 2 days. Ingram was really good, or I wouldn't say really good, but he was pretty good last game against Minnesota. He did play big minutes, 40 minutes, had 43 DK points. Without Zion, I do expect the opportunity to be there for Brandon Ingram. I expect him to dominate the usage on this Pelicans offense. He is priced correctly, though. I don't think he really stands out as like a great point per dollar play, but in tournaments, I think Ingram has upside in what should be a pretty fast-paced game against the Timberwolves. Same could be said for Joe Val. I don't think Joe Val stands out as like a great point per dollar play, but we know Joe Val has massive upside, and we saw him just do really well against this Minnesota team. He's always seemingly done well against Karl-Anthony Towns. I really don't know why, but it seems like whenever Valanciunas plays Karl-Anthony Towns and he plays the Timberwolves, he does well. He did really well last game. So I think Ingram and J Val make good sense as tournament options. NAW, I do have some interest in, especially on Yahoo. Now, DraftKings, he feels priced correctly, but Yahoo, NAW, only $23 at shooting guard. He might be one of my favorite early look shooting guards over on Yahoo. That's just too cheap of a price tag for NAW. He's getting big minutes. He's, without Lonzo, he's going to be in the starting lineup this year. He's going to start every game as long as he's healthy. And he's playing big minutes, 34, 32, and 35 minutes. Been very consistent, been productive, 35, 37, 34 fantasy points. He's another one of these guys that when he gets minutes, he can be very productive. He's a fantasy point per minute player. He's a high usage player. He's going to take a lot of shots. He can get you some rebounds. He can get you some assists as well. He can get defensive stats. He can do a little bit of everything. $23, I do like that price tag on Yahoo. I think he is a little bit too cheap over there. I still think he's a pretty good option on DK as well, but I do like him a little bit more on Yahoo. But that's probably it for the Pelicans. Devontae Graham, 5,400 feels a little cheap, but he's going to be a tough guy to predict this year. He's going to have good games, I'm sure, but it's going to be tough to really predict when those games happen. So I don't have much confidence in Graham, but I think he's at least playable. For me, though, I think Ingram, J-Val, and NAW are all good tournament plays, and NAW I do like a lot on Yahoo at its price over there. But on the Minnesota side, when it comes to this Timberwolves team, looking at them on this slate, everyone feels priced correctly. Obviously, Karl-Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell, in a good matchup against the Pelicans in what should be a fast-paced game. All those guys have upside. It wouldn't be surprising if those guys put up big games here. But they're all priced correctly, in my opinion. There's too many other studs I prefer over Towns today. We've already talked about a few. We're going to talk about even more studs, with Jokic later. Just don't know if I'm going to get to Towns. Anthony Edwards and D'Angelo Russell both feel priced correctly, and I still think there's other guards I prefer over them. Like, I'd rather have Malcolm Brogdon over Edwards, I think. So, yeah, just not a ton of interest in the Timberwolves today, even though it is a pretty good spot for them. Just the pricing feels pretty correct, in my opinion. So next game, Cleveland and Denver. We got 2 more to go over. We'll try and get through these quickly. Cleveland, big news to watch here is Darius Garland. Darius Garland's been out the last 2 games. We've seen without Darius Garland, Ricky Rubio has been the big beneficiary. He's priced up to $6K today, but I still do like Ricky Rubio a lot, assuming that Garland's out again. Last 2 games without Garland, Rubio has started. He's played 28 and 35 minutes. He's put up 36 and 44 DraftKings points. I'm assuming that Garland doesn't play once again, and if that's the case, I think at 6K, Rubio is a really good mid-range point guard option. And on Yahoo, he's very, very cheap over there. I like him a lot on Yahoo. Only $19, I do believe. Yeah, $19 for Ricky Rubio. I like him on both sides. You know, we're assuming Garland doesn't play. If Garland does play, then obviously I'm not interested in Rubio at his price tag. But if Garland remains out, Rubio is my favorite play from Cleveland. I think Colin Sexton would get a little boost as well. He would be playable. Evan Mobley's been great this year, but his price is just really high, man. $7,200. That's a lot to pay for Evan Mobley, even though he is playing big minutes, even though he has been productive. I don't think I'm going to get to him at that price point. So for me, when it comes to this Cleveland team, if Garland plays, I'm probably just going to be avoiding Cleveland as a whole. But if Garland is out, then I do like Ricky Rubio quite a bit on both sides. Now on the Denver side, when it comes to the Nuggets, it's really just Nikola Jokic, and that's probably it. Michael Porter Jr., Will Barton are fine, but I don't love them on this slate. Jokic, though, I think is someone you can always play. He's been, good as you would expect. First game this year against Phoenix, 50 DK points in 35 minutes, which was kind of, underperforming for Jokic. But he bounced back in a big way last game against San Antonio, 70 DK points in 34 minutes. We know Jokic is a super high usage player. We know he has a ton of upside. We know he can stuff the stat sheet, gives you triple-double upside any night. At 11K, he's right up there with Giannis. He's right up there with KD in terms of, the best pay-up options on the slate. A lot of interest in Jokic. I think if you can fit him, by all means, feel free to play Nikola Jokic. But last game of the night is Portland and LA, so we're going to talk about this one real quick. Looking at Portland's side, Portland, for the most part, feels pretty appropriately priced today. Damian Lillard at 9,300 has gotten off to a really slow start this season. Against Sacramento, only had 47 DK points, which is kind of underperforming for Lillard. He didn't shoot the ball that well that game. 33% from the field, 0 for 9 from 3. And then last game against Phoenix was a big blowout. He only played 24 minutes. I don't want to look too much into these performances so far. We know Damian Lillard has massive upside. His prices come down from what it was at the beginning of the year. He was, above 10K for both their 2 games to start the season. Now he's only 9,300 today. I think out of all the 9K studs, so, Trae Young, Lillard, Harden, I think that might be it. I think Lillard might be my favorite there. It's close between him and Harden. If I had to choose one of those two, I still prefer like Giannis and Jokic and KD over Lillard, but I think Lillard is definitely in play at 9,300. CJ McCollum, he's been great this year, but I don't think I'm going to go to CJ McCollum at 7,500. Again, there's just other guys priced around him. Example, Malcolm Brogdon that I would rather play. Nurkic, someone I always have interested in tournaments. Now, for cash games, it's tough to play Nurkic where he's priced at because he's priced correctly. It's not like he's a great point per dollar player or anything, but we know Nurkic can go out there and put up a big game any night. The Clippers have never been that great defending big men. This is definitely a matchup I think Nurkic should excel in against Zubac. So at 7K, I do like Nurkic. I think Lillard and Nurkic are by far my 2 favorite plays from Portland. And then with Norman Powell out, we could maybe look to a guy like Nasir Little. Nasir Little did start last game with Norman Powell out, played 27 minutes, had 25 DK points. Nasir Little is not a very good point per minute player. He's never really been a productive player, even when he does get minutes. But he's only 3,800. If you need the value, I think he's fine. But that's it for Portland. We can move on to the Clippers side. And looking at the Clippers here, so far, in my opinion, when it comes to this Clippers team, it's just really Paul George for me, and that's it. I haven't been on Reggie Jackson or Eric Bledsoe so far this year. Marcus Morris has not been great. Zubac's minutes have kind of fluctuated. Like he's played less than 20 minutes so far through both their games. But Paul George has been great, and without Kawhi Leonard, Paul George should continue to just be the entire offense for this Clippers team. He should continue to dominate the usage. He should continue to play big minutes. It's a good matchup against a pretty bad Portland defense, a Portland team that does play relatively fast. At 10,100, I think Paul George is another good stud option, but I would say Jokic, Giannis, KD are probably ahead of him for me. I would prefer those guys over PG just straight up. But again, if you're playing a lot of lineups, if you're making maybe 5, 10 tournament lineups, get some exposure to Paul George because he has already shown that he has good slate-breaking upside. He can put up 60-plus DK points any night. We know the usage, the opportunity is going to be there while Kawhi Leonard is out. But that's really it for Portland and LA. That's it for this game, I think, and that does it for this 9-game slate, guys. So these are kind of my first look plays. Some guys I kind of like just looking at this slate Sunday night. Again, nothing is set in stone. These are just kind of first look guys. If you want my full updated core plays after we get starting lineups, after we get injury news, after changes are likely going to be made, you can get those on Patreon, link down below in the description. I also have my Discord chat you can join that is available for Patreon members, and I do my rankings where I list off my top plays at each position. I also list off in order my favorite plays, points per dollar wise, just the guys I have the most interest in on the slate. But all that can be checked out on Patreon if you want to. It's linked down below in the description. Also, check out Prize Picks, which is also linked down below in the description. Sign up for Prize Picks. Use promo code Noah when you check them out. And again, you can see everything they have to offer. You can take some picks for yourself today, or you can make some picks for yourself today for today's games. They don't have a ton of options available right now, but as the day goes on Monday, likely Monday morning, you will see a lot more projections up for Monday's slate. So check out Prize Picks. Use promo code Noah when you sign up there. Get that deposit bonus. But that does it for this video, guys. I appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed. We will see you in the next one. Good luck tonight, guys. Peace.